He was fleeing because he knew that he was impaired. He had been at Log Bay Day all day, and that's why he fled.
That's Warren County DA Kate Hogan. In the Alex West case, took a jury about 11 hours to find the Lake George man guilty of manslaughter. 7 other counts regarded to that horrific crash last July on Lake George that killed an 8-year-old from California, Charlotte McHugh. We are joined by our legal analyst, Paul Harding from Martin, Harding and Mazzotti. Were you surprised at all, Paul, by the verdicts? He was found guilty of the most serious charges.
Yeah, good morning. Yeah, I think that was the question that was looming. Was he going to be found guilty of second-degree manslaughter, or was the jury going to look at this as a negligence, a criminally negligent homicide? And the sentences of those two are significantly different. So I can't say I was surprised. I think the jury just took their time and looked at this and ultimately decided it was a reckless standard beyond negligence.
Yeah, and they were not even given the biggest piece of evidence here, and that was the blood test that showed all of the drugs and alcohol he had in his system.
Yeah, one of the early breaks in the case for Wes was that was not going to get in, but there was so much testimony about the day, about this Log Bay Day that involved drugs and alcohol, and I think the jury just sort of got the picture without the actual testing documents in front of them that this was just an out-of-control day.
Now, the defense attorney says that they're going to appeal, and she says, Cheryl Coleman, that they don't have a drug involvement because of that test was inadmissible, and that's a huge issue for appeal. Would you agree with that as an attorney?
Yeah, I think that's going to be the strongest thing that she has to argue, and she's certainly a quality attorney who sort of gets it, but I think ultimately the violation here the conviction of this manslaughter case has to do with the recklessness. And so let's say that the drug piece is just sort of taken away. The manslaughter piece stays, and that's really the sentence that he's going to be serving. The other stuff, I would guess, the judge is going to put him on, and judges have a couple options here to run consecutive. They sort of run together or they're going to run concurrent. So here I believe it's going to be concurrent. The 5 to 15 is going to rule the day, and these other charges are going to kind of run together. So if you get one of those lesser charges thrown out, it may not affect his time in jail.
What I'm curious about is how can you find someone guilty of manslaughter but not vehicular manslaughter, or guilty of assault but not vehicular assault when the method of killing was a boat? Yeah. You know what I mean?
So there's the inconsistency, and we saw that in that Crossgate shooting, right? There was this kind of situation where he was found to be reckless, but yet he didn't shoot the gun. So it's like, well, what's going on here? So, yeah, you do have these verdicts that appear inconsistent, but the appellate division is not inclined to kind of to go in there and make changes. Historically, they don't, unless it's so. In here, I think that we look at this and we say, how a jury, again, take these people. They don't have legal training. They spend the time and energy through this trial, and then they go ahead and deliberate and make a decision. But I think that piece is still going to stick, but I think virtually always we see some inconsistencies and wonder what's going on in that jury room. But as a general proposition, they just found that these are the charges that they felt would hold, and we'll see if the appellate division does anything as it pertains to the alcohol.
Now, he didn't testify, Alex West, on his own behalf. Do you think that might have been a mistake? And if he had testified, would that automatically open up the blood test results or not necessarily? Yeah,
there was really no upside to him testifying. I think the jury always wants to hear the defendant say something, right? But he really couldn't say, I didn't do it. He really couldn't say, I didn't consume any. It just would have been a how much thing, and I think ultimately cross-examination would have just taken over, and they did the math and decided it's better for him to kind of remain on the sideline.
So just to recap what I thought I heard you say, now he could get 7 1/3 to 22 when he's sentenced on June 5th. You think it'll be 5 to 15 concurrent, probably?
Well, good. They haven't given me the judgeship yet, but yeah, I think something like that. And then, of course, you've got the 2/3. Right, you're going to serve the minimum because there's a death. You're going to serve absolutely the minimum, and you're never let out at the minimum, right? So the 5 to 15, it's usually about 2/3 of the maximum is going to be. So if it was 5 to 15, then he would do approximately 10 years, maybe some time off for good behavior. But we'll have to wait and see. High profile, lots of charges. The judge has complete control over this.
WGY legal analyst Paul Harding, Martin Harding Mazzotti, 1-800-LAW-1010. Thanks, Paul.